Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters here on France 24. And welcome also to this week's reporter, Matthieu Delmas. Matthieu, great to see you. Matthieu's just back from Venezuela, where he's witnessed firsthand the difficult situation for people there and how they're managing to make ends meet in what is an impossible economic mess. But also for you as a journalist, filming there was difficult. How did it happen? What were the problems you had to overcome?
Well, Mark, the main difficulty in Venezuela actually came from the authorities that don't allow foreign journalists to show the reality. I think, for example, about public hospital, that the access to public hospital are totally forbidden for foreign journalists. So it's not easy actually to show the reality in this country.
So you were taking great risks, but obviously what we're going to see is an interesting insight into what is happening in Venezuela today. The economic hardship is massive, and people perhaps at the end of their tether, starting to openly criticise the government of Nicolas Maduro. So, our report by Matthieu, Delmas and Chris Huby. Venezuela, the situation there, and we meet the fishermen of Lake Maracaibo.
In western Venezuela, the Maracaibo region has long been the economic heartbeat of the country. Nearly a third of Venezuelan oil comes from these huge oil fields located on the edge of Lake Maracaibo, the largest lake in Latin America. But what was once responsible for the country's wealth has now become a curse for people in the region. Doni grew up on a boat. His father was a fisherman, and Doni has now followed in his footsteps. But this is not the lake he knew as a child.
There's no water, just oil.
Since the beginning of the economic crisis that struck Venezuela in 2013, the oil facilities are no longer maintained. The 45,000 kilometers of oil pipelines lining the bottom of the lake are deteriorating, and oil spills are commonplace.
What can we do? Either we work, trying to avoid the oil, or it's unemployment.
You have a Maduro cap. Is it because you're a Chavez supporter?
No, not even in your dreams. It's because of the sun.
What do you think of Maduro?
Not much. He's a crook. He's anything but good. He's selfish and has ruined us all. We just about survive here.
Fishing is the only source of income for these men. Their daily life is a losing battle against this oil, which gets everywhere, destroys the ecosystem, and sometimes makes people ill. Anger is growing among the fishermen.
This oil is unbelievable. There's too much of it. We're angry because there are too many leaks and the authorities do nothing about it. We sometimes have to throw our nets into pools of oil. They don't give a damn. They don't close the leaking pipes. Look at it. Everything is black. This is what we removed from our nets with water and petrol. Everything is black.
At the auction, crates of soiled crabs are sorted by hand. Oil is not the only pollution ravaging the lake.
A lot of stained crabs, a lot of dead fish. They pour in a chemical to sink the oil and hide it. They pour it in to sink it, but the result is that they kill the crabs and the fish. We pray to God that they do not pour this chemical in again. We pray that it will not happen anymore.
Half of the catch is released back into the water. An ecological catastrophe coupled with an economic disaster, mirroring the crisis that has hit the country. On the edge of the lake, Maracaibo is not spared. With its 2 million inhabitants, the second city of Venezuela is on the brink of bankruptcy. The country had placed all its hopes on oil. The collapse of oil prices and the departure of foreign investors ruined it. GDP continues to plummet. Only the extremely low price of petrol is a reminder of past wealth. How much does it cost to fill a car?
45 bolivars.
45,000?
Not 45,000, 45 bolivars.
But that's nothing.
It's nothing. Let me show you what that is in notes.
A full tank costs 1/1000th of a euro cent. But everything else has become extremely expensive. This year, the country is expected to experience inflation of more than 13,000%. So Venezuelans queue all day long, hoping to get banknotes that are worthless.
Look, 240,000 bolivars. And when you think this government has devalued the currency 3 times.
And what can you buy with that?
Not even a toffee. And bread today costs between 50 and 80,000 bolivars.
It's hell. Take Maduro away with you. You can have him. Take him wherever you want, him and all his team. Take them with you, but hurry up, because we are going to die here. Hurry up.
The lack of cash and soaring unemployment have destroyed the purchasing power of Venezuelans. Little by little, famine is taking hold. According to a local university study, residents of the country have lost an average of 11 kilos each since 2015. The fishermen of Lake Maracaibo are not immune to these food shortages. Their catch is becoming scarcer because of pollution, and with the lack of money, nobody can buy their meagre production. It's a vicious circle that is making them bitter. How are you doing?
It's going well. It could not be better, thanks to this good Bolivarian government.
What's the situation like?
The situation? We have hit rock bottom.
How come?
Everything is going to pot.
Why?
This government uses hunger to control us, more than hunger. There's no cash to pay for our shrimp. What can we do if there's no cash?
Ronnie has been fishing for more than 20 years. He has never worked so hard to earn so little.
We're doing okay because we fish several times a day, sometimes 3 times in the same day. Sometimes we set out in the morning and then leave again in the afternoon. Sometimes we even leave again at night to always have some money and to be able to eat. But we cannot stop fishing because otherwise we'd soon have nothing left.
Ronnie lives with his partner and their young son in a single room with bare walls. Despite his efforts, he is struggling to support his family.
We had a terrible day today. We have nothing to eat.
You haven't eaten today?
No, I went fishing this morning and I've not eaten until now.
And what has your child had to eat?
Some rice and meat they prepared at my father's house.
And do you think you can offer some sort of future to your son?
The future? He won't have any future if we do not have one either.
Since the beginning of the crisis, more than 2 million Venezuelans have left their country, hoping to build a future elsewhere. Those who remain are ready to do anything to survive, even if it means breaking the law.
We've been doing this for 3 years now, since Maduro's been in power.
Maribel and her family do not have the typical profile of traffickers. This mother of two is a trained engineer, but today she earns her living by smuggling fish between Venezuela and Colombia.
So today I'm depressed and sometimes I feel bad, I want to cry. How's it possible that today I'm what I always wanted to be, but my qualifications are useless?
Several families join together for the long journey to the border. 24 hours by car, boat and truck lay ahead for these men and women who've become traffickers just to survive. Fish go from bag to bag, from box to box. And at every step, corruption is rife.
It's 100 for each box?
I cash in 100 and she 50. She pays the police and I pay the National Guard.
Here's 100, 100 and 100. Is that okay? That's to pay the police, the National Guard and the Coast Guard.
After a night standing on the back of trucks, faces are haggard. Maribel is exhausted.
As you can see, we suffer. When we arrive, our backs, our legs, our hands have just had it. We have bruises everywhere, but at least it's worth it.
But the convoy is not yet at the end of its journey. The border is dangerous. One has to dodge between the police, the mafia, and the local bandits who skim off their share along the way. It's a lawless area, and we must remain cautious. We finally reach Maracaibo, Colombia. Cargoes are unloaded at a small local market in collusion with the smuggling. Maribel is suspicious. She watches the weighing and checks the day's prices.
It comes to a total of 623,000 pesos, and the other a total of 587. You give 200 to one and 200 to the other.
And the rest by transfer?
No, we don't want that. We need cash to make purchases.
It won't be until 3 o'clock, so there's no point moaning.
If we have to wait till 3 a.m., we'll wait.
Negotiations have been a little tense, but Maribel is smiling again.
500,000 pesos. 500,000 pesos. In bolivars, that's 300 million bolivars. It's the equivalent of 20 months' work in Venezuela. Here, in one day, I've earned them.
Maribel will make the same trip the following week, and the week after, until her country's economy finally recovers. But last May's controversial re-election of Nicolas Maduro and the new international economic sanctions that followed may further magnify this crisis, considered by the IMF as one of the most serious of modern economy.
Our reporter Matthieu Delmas is still with us. Thank you for that fascinating insight into Venezuela. Let's hear now from a local who is openly criticizing the government of Nicolas Maduro and calling for the arch enemy of the state, the United States, to intervene, in particular Donald Trump.
I hope the gringos come back to power here. I'm 45 years old, and I remember when the Russians and the Arabs were here. We saw lots of money. The gringos should come to see what's happening in Venezuela. The president says hunger doesn't exist. That's what they say. It would be nice if it were true. I'm asking for Donald Trump to intervene so that this situation can come to an end. Because we want peace. Peace. This situation can't go on.
A remarkable situation, Matthieu, that someone in Venezuela is calling for Donald Trump to intervene.
Indeed, it's very surprising to hear such comments in Latin America and especially in Venezuela today. It's surprising to hear people call on the American President Donald Trump and those who criticize Venezuela. Yet, we witnessed this on many occasions during our stay in the country.
And given the words of the gentleman that we just heard from, there is obviously an implied criticism of President Nicolas Maduro. Are people becoming more and more, how can I put it, emboldened, I suppose, by their situation to speak out and call for help.
Alors je ne sais pas si les gens ont moins peur de parler.
I don't know if Venezuelans are less afraid to speak up, but I can say that speaking is the only hope they have left. You need to know that Venezuelans have lost an average of 11 kilos since the beginning of 2017. Ultimately, talking to foreign journalists is the only hope they have left.
And that's losing 11 kilos for having not enough food to eat. Let's be clear about that. And their hope, of course, brought by you to us and being broadcast on France 24 in French, in English, in Arabic and in Spanish. So let's hope their words being heard and maybe they feel their voices being listened to. Matthieu, why did you pick this area to film at, Lake Maracaibo?
The city of Maracaibo is Venezuela's second largest in terms of population and economically. Lake Maracaibo represented 30% of oil production in the country for a century, and when we went there, we realized that the population does not benefit from the profits. The international press paid very little attention to this city. This is why we chose to go there.
And what you've exposed, the extent of the pollution, the damage that's been done, it's shocking.
Oui, c'est vrai que le niveau du désastre.
It's true. The ecological disaster is very shocking. The infrastructure has not been maintained since the beginning of the crisis in Venezuela. As you can see in these pictures, the situation of the fishermen of Lake Maracaibo is really unbelievable.
Que vivent les pêcheurs du lac de Maracaibo.
And you have exposed it all. Matthieu, thank you very much indeed. Thanks to your colleagues as well, Chris Huby as well. Thank you very much indeed. And thanks to you for watching. See this again, of course, via our website, France24.com. This is Reporters on France 24. Stay with us.